coffee break. Take a break from the coding, the endless coding. I actually like the coding. It's the most zen job you could have. Things could be exploding outside, but it absorbs you fully. I think our brains have all different compartments in there or something, and one of them's to do with coding, and that's a really powerful part of the brain, because when you switch that one on, the rest is gone. I have no wife, I have no children, you don't exist, I don't care about anything. This is while I'm coding, and things explode, and as they do, when you've got a family, or puppies, or cats, or chickens, or whatever you've got. And, things go, bad things happen and all that sort of stuff. I don't even notice when I'm coding. But on my coffee breaks today, I've made 2 episodes, and this is the third. And this one is a reflection on the other 2. And in those 2, well, what were they about? They were about coronavirus and Karen, and coronavirus and Black Lives Matter, and with those, I was experimenting with the device that you can use when thinking about things, the device of switching off the caring. For example, and you can come up with some good results if you do that, because when you care, as I do, it can colour your judgment. So, for example, in the Black Lives Matter versus Coronavirus episode, which I think was the previous one, I'm very supportive of Black Lives Matter, and I've even thought about marching in a Black Lives Matter protest, but I've got to figure out how to do that while still doing social distancing and all that sort of stuff, and it looks pretty difficult. And plus, I'd have to get off my arse. Look, I can't even go out of my postcode. So how can I go to a Black Lives Matter protest? I could have one on my own, up and down my street. I live in a suburb where nobody cares about that. I'm the only one, But for the purposes of the previous episode, which was coronavirus and Black Lives Matter, which was a clash of justices, is the way I put it. Because I care about coronavirus too, in real life, as Damien, which is my real name, and I care about Black Lives Matter too, as Damien, but there's a problem there, well, it's a pretty obvious problem, because sometimes justices can clash. In practical terms, it's very hard to be pro one type of justice properly, according to what most people would call properly. I should actually smuggle myself into the city and join a Black Lives Matter protest in contravention of the law that tells me stay in your postcode. So I don't care enough about Black Lives Matter. See, to do that, you should be pleased to be arrested, but then, there's the justice for elderly people and all that sort of stuff too, who don't want to die. So, one justice, the other justice, and that's what that previous episode was about. But there is a way around all of that, is be someone other than yourself, and that's what I do with this YouTube clip and all the podcasts I used to do. I just turn myself into someone else, and then I can think more clearly. Get rid of the bias. Like imagine you were from some tribe, which I am, Essendon, football club. In order to properly review the Essendon supplements scandal in my mind, I couldn't do that as myself, as Damien. I'd have to switch myself into someone else who doesn't care about football at all before I could be unbiased enough to have a good look at that. It's just not possible as me. So what you do, it's a device. You switch yourself into someone else. You call yourself Mary, and you have a good look at that. That issue, the Essendon supplements scandal. You probably know nothing about that. It was a big deal. All right. So with Black Lives Matter and coronavirus, what I did there, and it's a good device, try it if you wish, is don't be yourself. What is your tribe? What is your bias? What is this? What is that? Now I know someone who doesn't like a certain president because he's in somewhere in the world because he's not doing all the right things by his tribe. My friend's tribe. And in order for that person to properly assess whether this president, oh no, he's not a president, yeah he is, I think, doesn't matter, is as bad as he thinks, my friend, for that my friend to really have a good look at whether this president is such a bastard, my friend would have to be not himself, and would need to change his name in his head to someone else, and then have another look at the president, and he might get a surprise. Say, oh, all right, he's a bit of a bastard, but then who isn't, All right, so all that sort of stuff. But with the Black Lives Matter thing, the episode I did, I found it a lot easier. I found it a nice, enjoyable exercise to have a good look at that as someone other than myself. It's a good trick. So I became Charlie and had a good look at it. And in the end, my conclusion was that if you're going to do a Black Lives Matter protest, do it like a German. Because I heard on the grapevine that the Germans did a Black Lives Matter protest and did it in such a way that they achieved social distance and mask wearing and all that sort of stuff. It was actually very civilized and well engineered. So it's not about Black Lives Matter. This episode, it's not about coronavirus, and it's not about Karen, which was the subject of the other episode. It's not about any of those things. I happen to be mentioning those things, but what this episode is about is the power of switching off your biases to the extent that you can. It's very difficult, by the way. But you can go a fair way. You can go a lot further than you can without using any devices. If you use some devices, put on a dress. If you have to, just get out of your own context. Deconstruct your social construction and all that sort of stuff. You can get a long way with all of that. Arguably you can't get all the way. Because there's always a danger that you'll put on a dress, in order to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, and forget who you were in the first place, and go around in a dress for the rest of your life. That's a danger. But I'm willing to risk it, and I have risked it plenty of times on a Thursday evening. Well, I have. It's been a while since I wore a dress, but I'm willing. I wouldn't call myself up for grabs, as Mick Jagger might say, but I'm open for offers. And I've got a visitor coming, so that's it.